Oh, hey, Jenna got into UT for women's volleyball too, and their team's really good. She's gonna love Austin. Oh, did you hear Jenna got into UT for volleyball?
Oh, really? Good for her.
Yeah, they have a great women's team. She's gonna love Austin.
Wait, I thought that was University of Tampa. Did she say she got into Tampa or Texas?
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's Texas. Like, it would make sense. They have a great volleyball team, and I think I remember her talking about the recruitment process for Texas. I'm pretty sure it's Texas.
All right, whatever you say.
Hey, Jenna, how are you?
Hey Travis, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Oh, congrats on UT. Hook 'em horns.
Oh, I actually got in University of Tampa, but I can see how you'd think that being from Texas and all.
Got it. Okay, that makes more sense.
I'm actually running late. I'll see you around.
Okay, see ya. Congrats on Tampa then.
Thanks.
In this video, I displayed a cognitive bias called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is when we use prior, often unrelated knowledge of something that may be not relevant to the situation and favor that assumption over another hypothesis which might have more evidence. For example, because I grew up in Austin, I tend to think of UT as meaning University of Texas as opposed to University of Tampa. Confirmation bias is most likely to occur when we are presented with ambiguous information such as UT. And since UT, is an abbreviation, it can have many different meanings, so you're more likely to interpret one that you already know. A good example was a study performed in 1960 by Peter Watson. Watson wanted to show how people tend to try and prove their own hypothesis right, as opposed to proving them wrong for the sake of finding the right answer. To show this, Watson created an experiment. He created a sequence of 3 increasing numbers, 2, 4, and 6, and asked participants to give examples of other 3 numbers which follow that sequence. Frequent responses were sequences like 8, 10, and 12, 16, 18, and 20, and 24, 26, 28. The participants received feedback every time they gave an answer which followed the sequence, that sequence being increasing numbers, to see if they were right or not. And they could stop whenever they thought they proved their hypothesis right. Watson observed, however, that people never changed from the even number example he had given, even though the pattern was only increasing numbers, not even increasing numbers. He presented these findings saying people tend to favor their own assumptions based on non-specific evidence that they were presented with first, and tend not to try and prove their hypothesis wrong.
Understanding confirmation bias will help us with 2 things: avoiding forming false beliefs and avoiding looking like a fool. Confirmation bias can be dangerous when people go out of their way to find evidence that supports their own prior knowledge and thus confirming something that may not be true. It's also important that we understand this bias so that we can avoid making mistakes like Travis. No one likes to make mistakes, and digging yourself deeper into an assumption you made, like Travis did, will only make you more embarrassed than if you had stopped assuming and asked questions when first provided with more realistic evidence. Our friend Travis didn't ask questions, and look where that landed him. Knowing that this bias exists is already a great start to ensuring that mistakes like this don't happen to you. A tip to ensure that this mistake doesn't happen to you would be avoiding making assumptions and take information as it comes. If the information you are given is not clear, recognize that and look for more evidence and trustworthy sources. Remember, there are no stupid questions.